Spotlight. Alex, how you doing?
All right, doing great, doing great.
Today we have something special, and Alex, I want you to introduce this one because I know this gentleman is in one of your favorite movies. He's in one of my favorite movies too. So I'm gonna let you go ahead.
Nice.
I'll let you go ahead and take this one to start.
Uh, we're talking today. We're talking about the legendary, amazing Tom Atkins.
Good news and bad news, girls. The good news is your dates are here.
What's the bad news?
They're dead.
The everyman's man.
The American hero.
Exactly. I can't tell you how much we've enjoyed this guy in various different films through the '80s, man. And it's kind of crazy going through his stat sheet and whatnot. Apparently, he had no intention of becoming an actor at all. It's kind of crazy how he got into the business. His father was worked at a steel mill in Pennsylvania, and he pretty much grew up, understanding that's probably what I'm going to be doing. And he ended up going into the U.S. Navy, Navy man like myself. When he was in the Navy, he spoke to a few people, and he noticed that the officers kind of live better than the enlisted people, which you know what's up with that as well.
They do, yeah.
So he was like, I could be an officer if I go to college. So when he gets out of, I guess he finishes his enlistment and he goes into college, and in college he starts talking to people and he actually starts to get into film. And then from that point on, let's see, he went to university in Pittsburgh, and actually he was when he was getting his degree, he became a member of Gamma Phi fraternity, and from there he started getting into acting after he graduated. Apparently, I didn't even know that he had done some theater work in Pittsburgh. So he did Macbeth. He played Ebenezer Scrooge in Christmas Carol, and he did a play called The Chief, which I think was the life of Art Rooney, the guy that owns the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think Art Rooney owned the Pittsburgh Steelers. So he did the theater adaptation of that. So he was doing theater before, I guess along with his acting career, but he got into thriller and horror stuff. He was working in films by John Carpenter, Stephen King, George A. Romero. So he also did some stuff on TV as well. He was in the Rockford Files for a few years as well in the '70s. But I know him from. By the way, for anybody that's interested, Tom Atkins right now he's at the age of 88, so he's up there in age. So if you do see him at these conventions or Comic Cons, you might want to talk to him and pay your respects, give your flowers as well, because he's up there in age, and I don't think he's going to be doing too many appearances because of his age. But my favorite film that I saw him in, of course, was The Fog. Fog is one of my favorite horror films, and he plays Nick Castle in The Fog. Again, he in all these films that we've seen him in, Halloween 3, The Fog, Night of the Creeps was a little bit different, but I'll get into that in a few minutes. But
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Nick Castle in The Fog, and Dr. Daniels that we just talked about him in Halloween 3 season of the Witch. He kind of plays like like an average guy that doesn't have a problem stepping up if need be. And both of those films, he was a doctor in Halloween 3 that had a little bit of nerve to go above and beyond. And of course, Nick Castle in The Fog, he was just kind of like just the average town guy that hung out with the fishermen, and then actually, he's pushed into a situation where he's got to step up and be heroic. So, and this guy just, I don't know, it's something about him, man. He nails it every single time. That was his chosen role in life, to be that to be that guy.
That guy, yeah.
Right. And again, I've enjoyed him in both of those films, but he's done a lot of other stuff as well. But it seems like the horror community has embraced him a lot more. In 2010, he got he was, I guess, in Fangoria Hall of Fame, the Chainsaw Award. So he got that award, and also in 2010, the same year, He's got horror icon of the year at the Louisville Fright Night Film Fest. So he's got a few awards, but like I said, he's never gotten any Academy Awards and stuff like that. And again, we always try to talk about these guys that that have that great talent, and that we fall in love with these characters on screen. And sometimes Hollywood isn't readily acceptant of the the fame that these guys get from certain characters, because it's it's not considered A-list, because I think it's BS.
Yeah.
This guy really added a lot to the 80s. I mean, you were the one that got me to watch Night of the Creeps again. How could you not like Detective Ray Cameron? Come on, man. I mean, that is the iconic, the iconic detective freaking persona of the 80s. Like, how could you not like that?
Yeah.
So this guy is definitely an underdog, man. And again, I'm showing flowers. I'm giving him flowers now, because again, without him being in these roles, man, I think they'd be less than what we what we give them right now. So
I think for a movie for Tom Atkins, I think he knew his lane. You know what I'm saying? He knew his lane. He knew what he was good at, and he kind of stuck to it because he was. I might be wrong. I didn't write this down. Was he in Maniac Cop?
Yeah, he was.
He was in
Maniac Cop.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He knew his lane. He wasn't in all these a bunch of big budget movies, A-list type movies. He knew his lane, and he kind of stuck to it. And I kind of appreciate that. Don't try to go outside of what you're good at. And my introduction, I said this before, you're a few years older than me, so The Fog came out before Halloween 3. If I'm right about that. I think I'm right about that. Yeah.
Fog came in 1980. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I obviously saw Halloween 3, because Halloween 3 came out in 82.
82, yep.
82. So I was 4. And I remember seeing that movie when I was 4 years old. So I didn't see The Fog until later. So my introduction to Tom Atkins was Halloween 3. And like you said, he was just this typical chauvinistic, almost like Charlton Heston, if you the kind of character that you can't get away with having this person in a movie these days. If you remember Charlton Heston from a movie like Soylent Green. Soylent Green's a great movie, but his character is kind of an asshole and chauvinistic, and that character just couldn't fly these days. Tom Atkins' characters in a lot of these movies just could not fly in the least these days. Unless he's on Rick and Morty or something. Right. It's just one of those things where even then, back then, it was more his behavior was more accepted.
Right.
And he played into that. Right. He played into that. And it wasn't it's hard to explain. It wasn't it was such a bad thing back then. It was just, you just thought different back then. And he just seemed more relatable. Right. He just seemed more relatable. He's a doctor. He's trying to get this young chick. He doesn't ask how old she is until after he done tried to smash. It's those. It's the thing. Man, dude. Even back then, you ask how old somebody is. I guess he assumed. You could assume that she was an adult. That was pretty obvious in the movie. But still, you waited a little long to ask that question. But he's he got the 6-pack of Miller High Life. He's just a dude, just a regular dude. He ain't built like Dwayne Johnson. Just a regular guy.
Right. And that's has its
what
own
I can
appeal,
appreciate
man.
about Tom.
Right. It has its own appeal because again, when we sit down and watch some of these films, I understand that you've got to have this. This iconic, heroic person, but sometimes, you want to sit down and watch somebody that you can really relate to, that's kind of close to what you are in real life. And it's just it just sits better. I probably could do that if shit hit the fan. You know what I mean? You don't want to be looking at something where you damn, man, I can't do that. You know, you want to be immersed in something that you could probably relate to a little bit more. And his characters are really closer to, you know, the average everyday guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like Night of the Creeps, he plays a detective. I got the detective's name, but
Thrill me.
Night of the Creeps. He plays
Detective Cameron.
right. He's kind of like the straight man. He's kind of like the analog for the audience. He's kind of a little bit of everything in this movie. You know, he's not the main character of the movie, but he's like just the no nonsense, common sense detective that sees something weird and he's like, okay, maybe there's something more to this than meets the eye. But he's not taking no shit. You know, he's not here for comic relief. You know, like
nope.
He's a great character in that movie. And honestly, when you go back and look at that movie, he doesn't have like a ton of screen time. But
not really.
He chews it up whenever he's there. He's chewing it up. Yeah, you
I think
you gotta love a character like that.
He played a similar role in the remake for My Bloody Valentine, the 3D one that came out in 2009. And I think he played, I can't remember the name of the sheriff, but he played the retired sheriff that was kind of like, I guess, that knew the legend of like what happened in the mines and where Harry Warden came from, or the spirit of Harry Warden came from. So again, you know, he does these cameos in certain roles in certain films that are kind of cool, you know. So.
Yeah, you gotta appreciate a guy like Tom Atkins. You know, it's when there are certain actors that come about during a certain time in your life where it's you're like, man, why is it I have this, you know, affection towards this actor? It just they just kind of hit at the
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Atkins is one of those guys. Like for me, I have no other reason to like Tom Atkins as an actor. It's just that he came around in the time of my life where he's in some of my favorite movies. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
and he wasn't like super A-list actor at the time. That didn't matter.
No.
Just because we're two black kids, you know, back in the '80s doesn't mean we only watched black actors, because that wasn't the thing. We watched a little bit of everything. You know, we were sitting down watching the same soaps with our parents and grandparents, and the same television shows on the same 3 channels that everybody had. A lot of our experiences are very similar. If you grew up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, you know, you have a lot of similar experiences when it comes to television and movies.
Exactly.
So, depending on what you liked, you probably liked a lot of the same stuff, depending on what you were into. And you know, horror and sci-fi and comedy back then. If you're into horror and sci-fi, you probably know who Tom Atkins is. You know, through osmosis.
Absolutely.
Even if you don't know his name.
Right. You haven't looked into Tom Atkins besides like a couple of films from the 80s. Because I know, he's famous for like horror and thrillers and stuff like that. But look into him a little bit more. You know, watch some of his interviews. There's a lot to enjoy there about him as he plays his characters. So.
Yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy these spotlights. You know, something a little shorter, a little more bite-sized for folks to chew on. And we plan to do a lot more of these. So just stay tuned to the channel. Alex, you got any parting words on Tom Atkins?
No, like I said, if you this is your introduction to Tom Atkins, and definitely look him up on Internet Movie Database. Watch his films. Watch The Fog. Watch Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, Night of the Creeps, and look into him and find out as much information as you can about him, and enjoy him just as much as we have. And stay tuned for more. We're going to be doing a lot more spotlights on different people in the movie industry and film industry, and hopefully we can bring more people to them, and to as much as we enjoyed them, we can have other people enjoy them as well by showing them the way.
This is the way. So thanks again, everybody. And we'll be back soon. Peace.
Take care.